again, NetRealm. I'm RedParagonG, and welcome to a surprise art video. I am indeed still trying to balance my projects, but today I'm going to participate in another event. The Fakemon Ultra Collab 2023. This is a collaboration in which Fakemon artists come together to create Fakemon based on a theme, and then proceed to tag people once they're done. I was tagged by Pewter City Jim, creator of the Solar region and a pretty close colleague as of late. I literally wrote this part after watching his video, so thank you for breaking me out of my hiatus period, Jim. I knew exactly what to do from there, but the tricky part was deciding what Fakemon to make. The theme of this collab is duality. Two things that are connected but different at the same time. Basically Reshiram and Zekrom's whole deal. I figured at the very least I would make a pair of Fakemon. They could be counterparts to each other like Solrock and Lunatone. But as far as the actual theme goes, I was a bit stumped. That is, until I stumbled upon an old line of mine, Symptiny and Thermosic. These were once in the urban region, but I decided to scrap them in the latest version. That's not to say I can't reuse them, however. In fact, Thermosic's midsection gave me the perfect inspiration for this pair of Fakemon. Hot and cold thermometers. Bingo! I'm all set. Let's pull out a pen and begin the process. So I wanted my two entries to be animals as opposed to objects like Thermosic. I chose lizards because they're pretty sensitive to temperature changes. The first of these lizards is a fire type based on the brown Anole. I have a few that like to hang out in my back porch, and they're honestly really funny to watch. One of them likes to crawl along a chair we have, do push-ups, and fan its dewlap a couple of times. Said dewlap I could make into the shape of a flame, and I gave it little flicks on its eyes to match. The pose I felt out as I went, but I did add lines to indicate its thermometer origin. I even made its tail sort of ball-shaped to mimic the end of a thermometer. Arranging the limbs was somewhat tricky, but I decided to segment each part with round shoulders and big hands. These would be traits that would carry over into its colder counterpart. I started coloring this guy with yellow and orange from the Anole's dewlap, but the base color eluded me for quite a bit. Eventually I settled on a dark maroon since it would contrast the brighter colors quite nicely. I later added some red to the tail to give it a gradient effect. I thought this would add to the rising temperature motif it has and give the simple design some extra flair. Heh, fire puns. And here it is, the pure fire type Faranole. It's known as the warm Pokemon due to its ability to adjust its body temperature. There's a heat-sensing organ in its tail that allows it to do this. It fans its dewlap when threatened, and it even lights up with internal heat. Sounds like it could use some cooling down, huh? Let's make its frozen friend, shall we? To further the theme of duality, I decided to make these Fakemon similar, but with key distinctions based on their types. Faranole is a fire type Anole, so that means this Fakemon will be an ice type based on the iguana. I also decided to have it stand on all fours, giving it a more feral demeanor. The shoulder bumps on its forearms are larger, and that combined with the chest made it look more robust. And instead of a dewlap, I gave it a mohawk stylized to look like mountain peaks. A lot of the other features are also present in Faranole's design. The lines, the tail, the spikes atop its eyes. But that's the point. It's meant to be the counterpart to Faranole, so it had to share elements with it in order to represent duality. Off-screen, I gave it a spike on its chin to mirror the placement of Faranole's dewlap. Colors were pretty straightforward at first, a couple shades of blue to highlight its typing. But like before, I added in another color for contrast. In this case, it's a nice purple to represent Frostbite. I also gave the mohawk some little patches on the tips and colored the gradient in between cuts because I forgot. I do have one more thing to add. There's another bit of inspiration other than the hot and cold theme. You see, there's something called a frozen iguana shower. On extremely cold nights, a bunch of iguanas go into torpor and fall off the trees they lived in. But the moment the sun comes out, they all turn back to normal. This happened 3 years ago, and I couldn't help but include it. It goes so well with the theme of duality since an ice-type iguana would juxtapose the animal's hot environment. And here is the cool Pokemon, Igwalsius. Like Farinole, it has a special organ in its tail that allows it to adjust its body temperature. The difference here is obvious. It controls ice, while Farinole controls heat. It also has a different personality. Whereas Farinole is more reserved, Igwalsius is hardy and wild. It is said that it could freeze anything to absolute zero if it got angry enough. But that's just an exaggeration. It and its counterpart do have unique abilities. Farinole has heating, while Igwalsius has cooling. These two pretty much the same thing, but for different weather conditions. Farinole gets a boost to its fire moves while in hail or snow, while Igwalsius's ice attacks get boosted in harsh sunlight. Oh, and here are their shinies. I decided to give them each other's palettes to further heighten their relationship. These two would definitely be right at home in my future Florida region. And that's it. Those are my entries for this year's Fakemon Ultra Collab. Although I think I'm missing something. Oh, right! I forgot the tags! These are not required to join, nor are they to include in your entry, but I figured it'd be nice to send a tag of endorsement to my fellow creators. I'll start with Boreal Mind. Creator of the Germansburg region, she and I have a lot in common, and I don't mean just having a Germanic region. She's constantly wanting to improve, and I bet she'd be up to this new challenge. Next up is Fruity Art. This Fakemon making juggernaut is responsible for the Pokemon Amber series. Set in the prehistoric Palean region, it's probably my favorite Cardinal clone. I admire and envy his talents. And finally, from past to present, my final tag will be for the Jaw Machine. Though I recently started watching his stuff, he's created 3 seasons worth of Fakemon for his Pokepaint series. That's impressive. His current region is based in Florida, which I totally did not plan for, but he and Fruity did the collab last year, so I figured it'd be a no-brainer. And there we go! Now we're done! Thanks for tuning in! If you'd like to participate in the collab yourself, the rules are in the description. Be sure to include the hashtag Fakemon Ultra Collab 2023 in your entry. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified of future uploads. Links to the folks I tagged, as well as my socials, are in the description. This has been RedParagonG, and to all the guys, gals, and everyone in between, may the light of Sirenth guide you on your quest through life. See you next time!